Hey there guys, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. So we're going to be discussing the streaming wars and specifically what was happening in 2023, and it looks like Netflix had a dominant year when it comes to the other studios with their streaming services. Also, we're going to take a look into 2024 and where the streaming wars could possibly go next. So if you are new around here, consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the movie and streaming news going on this channel. But for now, we're going to jump into this Variety.com article. Embattled studios face a continued uphill battle in 2024. So let's jump in and see what's going on with the streaming wars. So the media sector has little to celebrate this holiday season, as the major studios continue to face depressed share prices, crumbling revenue streams, and uphill battle to push their direct-to-consumer operations into profitability. Netflix's victory in the streaming wars has become all but assured. So guys, if we take a look at this chart here from 2023, you'll see the stock share prices of the different streaming studios. And as you can see at the top, the red line with Netflix, they are far and above everybody else when it comes to the streaming wars. Their stock prices are just crazy when you compare it to the other streaming services. You can see them down at the bottom in different colors if you look at the legend. But yeah, it just goes to show, Netflix were there first. They had, the advantage of building up their customer base 10 years before sort of anybody else got into the streaming game. And it goes to show their absolute dominance, over the sector, that Netflix kind of is doing it best. They got the market share. They're making so much money when it's compared to all the other streaming services. But yeah, this chart just goes to show Netflix is absolutely dominant in the streaming wars. But let's keep going, guys, and see what else we can learn about what's going on. So you could easily attribute that victory, or at least trace it back, to Netflix's decade-long head start on building an audience, which is what I was just saying, guys. They had a major head start before all the other streaming studios came on board. And investing in the streaming experience, but it helped that its competitors, once they finally got into the streaming video on demand business, bungled their way through nearly every step, from clunky user interfaces to poor branding to misbegotten content investments. Somehow Disney managed to turn a winning hand of the biggest franchises in the world into the worst crisis in decades. Wow, that's really bad. But yeah, guys, it's absolutely true. We've had all these different issues with different streaming services, where the user interfaces have been bad, their content has just been kind of misbranded. Like a lot of the issues that Netflix has, even though they're on top of the pile when it comes to the streaming wars, some of the biggest complaints that people have about Netflix is they don't market their content properly. Every time you log on to Netflix, there's a new big movie on there, and you think to yourself, well, they never told me about this movie. Like, how am I supposed to know about their content if they don't tell me about what's going on? But regardless, Netflix is still at the top. But yeah, guys, we've had, bad streaming services, we've had bad user interfaces, we've had bad content, and, other streaming services other than Netflix are just really struggling in the streaming wars. But yeah, where it says here, Disney managed to turn a winning hand of the biggest franchises in the world into the worst crisis in decades. Man, like, Disney, they've put out a couple of good things, like WandaVision, The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, but their other shows are real bad. Their Star Wars shows, Book of Boba Fett, crap the bed, and you've got Falcon and Winter Soldier, that was kind of mediocre. Some of their other shows are just real bad. And you would think that Disney would have a winning recipe with the IP that they hold, but yeah, they're not doing so hot, not as hot as what people thought they would have done. So here we are, more or less back where we started. Streaming is ascendant but unprofitable. Theatre and linear TV are declining, and everyone is licensing content to Netflix. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because when a studio makes a movie and they don't feel they can make a profit on it, they kind of just sell it off to Netflix, and it ends up on Netflix. And Netflix end up with a cheap movie, and the studios end up using Netflix as a dumping ground for their content. So it's kind of weird how it worked out. With Peak TV demolished and millions of dollars in shareholder value lost along the way. So the question now becomes whether there is any options left that would keep the legacy players competitive in the direct-to-consumer game. So guys, we have a chart here from 2023, the direct-to-consumer segment earnings. So we can have a look at the various different streaming studios and look at, how much money they made, how much profit, their expenses, and their revenues. Let's have a quick look. So up first, we have Netflix, who made $24.9 billion. They ended up spending $19.4 billion, and in profit, they made $5.5 billion. And this is just in quarter three, so $5.5 billion in profit. I would say that's a pretty good number. And then on next to Disney. Disney made $16.1 billion. They ended up spending $17.7 billion, and they lost $1.6 billion. Warner Bros. Discovery, they made 7.6 billion. They spent 7.5 billion, so they're about $100,000 in the profit, just about breaking even, 100,000 in the profit. So that's kind of good, but obviously not where you want to be when you're in the streaming game. On to NBC Universal next. 2.3 billion they made. They spent 4.3 billion and they ended up losing 1.9 billion. And then on to Paramount. They made 4.9 billion. They spent 6 billion and they lost sorry, my mouse cursor's in the way. They lost 1.2 billion. So, pretty much every streaming service on this list here, apart from Netflix, ended up losing money or just about made a little bit of a profit. Warner Bros. Discovery being the exception. They made about $100,000 in profit. But Disney, NBC Universal, and Paramount all lost money when it came to streaming in Q3 of 2023. And Netflix, I mean, just look at the profit here. 5.5 billion compared to the rest of these streaming services. It's insane. It just shows the absolute dominance that Netflix has. So let's keep reading and see what else we can learn. The obvious and most popular solution, consolidation, is already underway, with Paramount Global, Warner Bros. Discovery, and Comcast all circling one another in a merry game of merge and acclamation musical chairs. The conventional wisdom goes that the smallest of media giants must get even bigger if they hope to stand a chance of competing in the current landscape. Never mind, of course, that Warner Bros. Discovery market value has plunged since its post-merger shares began trading in April 2022. That's really bad to hear that post-merger. You don't want to hear your shares are going down. That's absolutely awful to hear that Warner Bros. Discovery is that's happening to their stock. But yeah, guys, so there's a lot of talk about, streaming services bundling up their streaming services together. So the problem that they're having at the moment when it comes to streaming is a lot of people hop from streaming service to streaming service. You log on to a streaming service or you sign up for one, you watch a particular show or shows that you like, you then cancel your subscription and then hop over to the next one. And it's having a knock-on effect to their financial bottom dollar. So what they're trying to do to stop people from doing that, they're trying to bundle different streaming services together in order that you stay, as a subscriber to those services for longer. Because if you've got Netflix, Paramount, and Discovery all in one package bundle, and then you've got those three different streaming services as one bundle that you pay one price for each month, you're more likely to stay signed up for that bundle package than to sign up for one streaming service but then hop between them. So they're going to hope that with a bundle package they can stop people hopping from service to service. Whether that can work or not, we'll have to wait and see. And maybe they can compete with Netflix by doing that. That's, time will tell. And it's certainly a valid strategy, for the smaller streaming services trying to compete with Netflix, that's for sure. So what the ultimate rearrangement of the landscape will look like is still very much up in the air, of course. Wall Street's adverse reaction to the rumors of Paramount Warner Bros. Discover merger last week would seem to suggest the deal is unlikely. Yeah, I don't really see it happening, to be honest. David Zaslav's pride could certainly interfere. However, if Warner Bros. Discovery CEO would prefer to be seen as a buyer rather than being acquired by Comcast. But even if Warner Bros. Discovery Paramount deal does come to pass, and count me among the skeptics on that front, yeah, same as me, the company's combined streaming platform would still not stand much of a chance seriously competing with Netflix. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Them having a 10-year head start, talking about Netflix, is really, really giving them dominance over the streaming market. And as I say, these companies now are trying to bundle their services together. They're trying to buy other studios and buy content and buy IP and make original content. There's so many different strategies that these companies are trying to employ in order to compete with the market share that Netflix has. And they're really struggling to do it. And as we saw in that chart, most of the services are not profitable. Warner Bros. Discovery just about made enough money to break even and make a little bit of profit. But yeah, Netflix, absolute juggernaut. And it doesn't look like any streaming service is going to be able to take down Netflix anytime soon. So together, Paramount Plus and Max typically account for just over 2% of the monthly TV viewing in the US, per Nielsen data. It's hard to see how combining would boost that share, particularly as numerous Paramount Plus subscribers would likely bulk at the 33 to 67% hike in the monthly cost of their plan. And that's assuming that the new Warner Bros. Discovery package would maintain Max's current prices for combined streaming video on demand, which is highly unlikely. So here, guys, this is a really, really interesting chart as well. So we've got the share of US stream viewing time. And as you can see here, we've got the market share breakdown of what people are watching on different services. And it goes to show, the most dominant ways that people, consume their streaming content. So obviously it starts in June, finishing in November, and the percentages are pretty much the same month on month. But let's have a look. So we've got Netflix. Obviously, they've got around about 20 to 22%. Then it goes to YouTube, secondly, which have even more of the market share. It looks like they've got sort of 23 to 25%. Then we've got Hulu at 8 to 10%. Then we've got Amazon Prime between 8 to 10. And then we've got the smaller other streaming services as well in these smaller numbers here. And then other at 13 to 14%. So if you look at this, Disney, Max, Peacock, Pluto, Tubi, Roku, all in these smaller numbers here when you compare them to YouTube and Netflix. YouTube and Netflix, look at these numbers here, 23%, 20%, 25%. They absolutely just dominate the market. Especially look at Disney share, Max share, Peacock, these smaller colors here, guys. Yeah, they just don't stand a chance against YouTube and Netflix by the look of it. But the cost of acquiring Paramount would also take a significant toll on Warner Bros. Discovery balance sheet, with Zaslav and Co. already saddled with a $45 billion in debt. Wow, that's absolutely crazy. Imagine trying to clear that off your balance sheet. With content spending already constrained, it seems doubtful this new mega studio would have the financial firepower necessary to take on Netflix. Despite the formidable IP and talent arsenal, think of what Taylor Sheridan could do on HBO. Yeah, that would definitely be cool. So meanwhile, the only streaming players with such firepower at the moment, big tech interlopers, Apple and Amazon probably won't be engaging in merge and acclamation circus. Yeah, I mean, you look at Apple and Amazon, they don't have a lot of content when you compare it to Netflix and some of the other streaming services, but the quality that they have is absolutely insane, especially Apple. Apple goes with their lower quantity but higher quality. Some of their shows on Apple are absolutely incredible. Whereas Amazon, trillion-dollar company, they have, all the financial resources in the world. They're going really, really hard on their content. They've got Lord of the Rings, they've got Fallout coming, they've got Warhammer. I believe they've got BioShock and Gears of War as well. The gaming movies coming. So Amazon is really, really firing on all cylinders, trying to get their IP onto their streaming service. And we'll have to see how that works out when it comes to those gaming movies, sorry. Apple has never gone in for such blockbuster deals, while Amazon has already made one legacy studio purchase in MGM, and neither want the regulatory scrutiny that comes with the Paramount and its broadcast TV operations. Besides, both companies already have enough money on hand to truly challenge Netflix if they wanted to. Yeah, Apple and Amazon, I mean, they've got all the financial resources in the world to be these box office juggernauts. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's not all about the money. It's about, it's about the kind of the customers and them wanting to keep coming back to your streaming service. Do you have content that people want to watch? That's what it's all about. It's all about IP and franchises and, that kind of quality content. So if you haven't got that available on your streaming service, then people aren't going to come back. They could sign up possibly in the first place, but then if they get bored and don't like your content, they're not going to come back. And, money can solve that problem in part of the way, but it's all about creating quality content. So, you need good screenwriters, good actors, stuff like that to make sure your shows are quality. But it's long since become clear that the tech giant's Hollywood ventures are far from top priorities. Yeah, like Apple, obviously Apple's main priority is their tech side of their business, and then they create Apple TV Plus, so people can watch people can watch it on their tech, on their phones and their tablets and computers. And the same with Amazon. Amazon, obviously, they're a product company, firstly, and then they have their, Amazon Prime Video that goes along with, their Amazon Prime service. So you get your shipping and you get your TV show at the same time, but it's not their priority. There is one of the other path available to traditional studios, with the former Warner Media and Hulu CEO, Jason Kilar, already endorsed in the pages of Variety. He said, quote, "A modern everything product that consumers will adore, i.e. a digital version of an old school cable bundle." Which is what I was talking about earlier, guys, where into 2024 and in the next couple of years, we're going to see these bundle packages becoming more and more common. It's going to keep the consumers happy. It's going to stop them jumping from streaming service to streaming service. And we'll have to see how that all shakes out by keeping our eyes on it. So, of course, Kilar should know better than anyone from his days at Hulu. The studios are constitutionally incapable of that kind of coordinated attack, though Zaslav one would seem to be in favor of it. Any bundling over the next year is far more likely to continue in the vein that we've seen this year. Limited combinations and a couple of services, often with telecom, to package the deal. And while consumer demand for streaming bundles is poised to grow, there's only so much these packages can do to shift the balance of power in the streaming game. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like I say, at the end of the day, you can try all of these different marketing schemes to get people to sign up for stuff and to keep them subscribed for longer. But it comes down to IP, it comes down to franchises, it comes down to, keeping consumers happy while they're subscribed to your service. I mean, if you're not putting out quality content, if you're not marketing your content, if you're not giving people a reason to stay subscribed, then obviously they're going to keep hopping from service to service, getting the shows they want, digesting them, and then moving on to the next ones. So you have to give people a reason to stay on your subscription service, which is a lot harder said than done. Throwing money at the issue can take you so far, but it's all about the quality of your content. So telecom partnerships have limited reach, extending only to the relevant company's broadband or cellular subscribers. And while good for bringing in incremental revenue, they are not exactly optimal for boosting engagement. It's very easy for users to forget they have access to a service through their cell phone plan, for instance. Meanwhile, Netflix itself is taking part in some of these bundles, reducing any competitive advantage its rivals can reap from such arrangements. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like, now, when you buy smart TVs and you buy smartphones and pretty much anything with the word smart in front of it, when it comes to tech, laptops, tablets, all of that kind of stuff, they seem to have streaming services attached to them. When you buy them brand new, from an electronic shop or wherever you buy them from, it always seems to come with a streaming service, whether it's like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, seems to be included. But a lot of people, when they buy something, they forget that they have these streaming services included with their tech purchases. So, like it says, they can only go so far as to helping out when it comes to streaming. Because if people are buying, technology and then forgetting that they actually have access to the streaming services, with their tech purchases, then only works so good to a certain point. So, is there anything then that the studios can really do to rival Netflix at this point? Frankly, I wouldn't bet on it. The legacy players must do whatever they can to simply weather the ongoing storm, whether the merge and acclamation, new forms of bundling such as Disney Charter Pact, or using their library content as currency to help fund their business. I predicted back in April that 2023 would be streaming's year of trial and error. 2024 seems to be poised to be their year of any means necessary. Yeah, as companies are losing more and more money over the next year or so, they're going to become more and more desperate. You're going to see companies start to license out content as a way of, making money. Warner Brothers has already started doing that. They started licensing out their DC content to Netflix, and Warner Brothers also licensed out their DC content to Tubi as well, as a way of making money, because it's just sat on their streaming service and they're not making any money from it or gaining subscribers. So they need to license out their content in order to make money. So, studios licensing out their content to other studios to make money is one of their strategies, as well as, trying to bundle their services together. But guys, as the streaming wars heat up, we're going to see a lot of these desperate measures, bundling of services and, bundling it with, tech purchases. And, we're going to see a lot of crazy kind of experimental kind of marketing and, trying to get more and more subscribers for different services. We'll have to see how it all shakes out and ultimately who is left at the end of the day and who ends up going bankrupt from, trying to compete with Netflix. But it's very, very interesting conversation, guys. So jump into the comment section. Let me know what you think about this. At the end of the day, when the streaming wars is finally finished, do you think that a lot of these studios will still be intact, or do you think that people will go bankrupt, or, how do you think it's going to shake out? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.